You're joining us here on our special broadcast on India Today, where we're focusing on the action, the conviction of Prajwal Revanna, former JDS MP, a member of parliament who for years together used his political clout to get away from the law, has been accused of sexually assaulting, of raping, of threatening many women. And now in one of the many rape cases against him, he's been convicted. Convicted in the case that was filed by a domestic worker in his house. His house help filed the case of rape against him. And a special court in Bengaluru has found him guilty. Revanna is facing now 3 criminal cases filed in 2024. All of them rape. This after many obscene video clips depicting the sexual abuse of multiple women had surfaced on social media. He tried to run away, tried as hard as he could to use his political influence to get away, but couldn't. 14 months in a landmark Speedy trial that's taken place, Prajwal Revanna has been found guilty of rape.
The law finally catches up with former JDS MP Prajwal Revanna. A special court for people's representatives has convicted Revanna in a rape case filed against him by a domestic worker from KR Nagar in Mysuru. The verdict was delivered just 14 months after the case was registered, with the trial concluding at a remarkable pace.
Here in this case, where I examined 26 witnesses on behalf of the prosecution, though I was cited more than 100 witnesses, and we have got marked 180 documents in favor of the prosecution. And main evidence is of the victim lady. That is very much convincing one. And also I congratulate the SIT team. Very, I think deeply and minutely they have investigated in all respect.
Revanna broke down in court when the verdict arrived. He was seen crying as he left the courtroom.
Pleasure of the accused, he himself recorded the video during his illegal acts or sexual acts. Because of that only, we have taken into assistance of the digital evidence to find out the truth. The incident had taken place 3-4 years back. But when the earlier video is not morphed one, genuine one, such incidents happen. That is, ultimately, we have to, one can come to the conclusion.
According to the case, which was registered at the cybercrime station of the CID, Revanna raped the woman on 2 occasions and recorded the act on video. The CID Special Investigation Team, led by Inspector Shobha, collected 123 pieces of evidence during the course of the investigation and submitted a voluminous charge sheet spanning nearly 2,000 pages. The survivor submitted a sari as physical evidence, which she had preserved. Forensic analysis has confirmed the presence of sperm on the sari, which was presented in court and accepted as a key evidence in establishing the rape. The trial commenced on the 31st of December 2024, and over the next 7 months, the court examined 23 witnesses. The sections under which Prajwal Revanna was convicted carry varying degrees of punishment, from a minimum sentence of 10 years, which may extend to life imprisonment.
ಹೀಗಂತ ಹೀನಾಯ ಕೃತ್ಯ ನಡೆದಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾಚಿಕೆ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಇದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅವರ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಜೀವನದಿಂದ ನಿವೃತ್ತಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರ ಜೀವನದಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಕಾರ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇದೇನು ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಎರಡಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇವತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ ತೀರ್ಪು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇನ್ನ 3-4 ಇದೆ ಅವರದು.
Prajwal Revanna is the grandson of former Prime Minister and JDS patriarch HD Devegowda. Prajwal failed to retain Karnataka's Hassan parliamentary constituency in the 2024 Lok Sabha polls. He was also suspended by the JDS following cases filed against him.
Prajwal Revanna's counsel, legal counsel and families are exploring legal options. This is just one among the 4 pending cases against Prajwal Revanna, and now a 48-year-old woman who had complained of rape. In that case, Prajwal Revanna has been convicted by the special court. Nagarjun Dwarkanath for India Today.
And father H.D. Revanna, who himself, remember, is in the dock over a kidnapping case related to what's happened with his son Prajwal Revanna, was asked about his son's conviction. He's evaded all questions right now. H.D. Revanna, remember, tried to shield his son, claimed this was a political conspiracy, claimed it's politically motivated. But now, when asked about the fact that there's been ample evidence to go ahead and convict his son, he refused to take all of the questions. He's out on bail himself in a kidnapping case. Take a look at exactly what happened.
The court has found Mr. Prajwal
ಲೋಗೋ ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ
ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ
The court has found Mr. Prajwal
ಲೋಗೋ ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ
ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ
As expected, H.D. Revanna there not really offering any answers to reporters when asked about his son's conviction. The same man who went out on a limb to try and protect his son despite the grave allegations that came to the fore. Remember, he is also in the dock in a kidnapping case when he and Prajwal tried to hush up one of the women, one of the families, from speaking out. He's currently out on bail himself. Let me bring in Nagarjun Dwarkanath, who's joining us live on this broadcast from Bengaluru with the latest updates. So Nagarjun, finally, you're seeing action against Prajwal Revanna, much needed. And this is just the first of many other cases. I understand in all there are 4 rape cases against this man.
Well, that's true. 4 rape cases and one has been, a verdict is out and he's been convicted. And this was the strongest case against him is what the prosecution also feels, because the digital evidence matched, the DNA evidence matched, and the victim confessed before the police under section 164. She recorded a statement and all 3 evidences worked against Prajwal Revanna. And the biggest takeaway is that the court finished the whole trial in a matter of few months. From arrest to conviction, the whole process was ended in 14 months, and that's a big takeaway from the judiciary system also. The prosecution thanked the SIT team to make it a watertight case. They had access to all the evidences and ensured that the witness and the victim were protected. Initially, the victim was kidnapped from Prajwal's family and kept in a guest house or a farmhouse in Mysuru. And later, the SIT had to reach out and rescue her and then take her into protection, give her protection, and then take her into custody and record the statement, what had happened. This was the steps that was SIT had taken. And Prajwal, initially, when he landed on May 31st, 2024, when he lost the election, he landed from Germany. And the moment he landed, he was taken into custody and then taken to CID office that night. Today, he was in the court hall. He broke down the moment he heard that the conviction had happened. Now his family and his legal counsel is trying to move the High Court. They're waiting for the official order copy, but that also is a lengthy process. It will not finish in 6 to 8 months. So more than a year, Prajwal will now be held as a convict in Bangalore Central Prison.
Okay, so straight to the Bangalore Central Prison it is. Of course, they will be looking at exploring at all possible legal options. But at this point, no hope really for Prajwal Revanna, as it should be, looking at the grave charges against him. 4 rape cases. In the first one that was filed by his house help, by a domestic worker in their residence, in the Revanna residence, he's been found guilty, convicted for rape. Let me bring in on this broadcast Brinda Adige, women's rights activist. We also have Mr. Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. Mr. Hegde, I'd like to begin with you. Good evening. Just explain to us, Mr. Hegde, why this case sets a great precedent. In a matter of 14 months, we've seen a crackdown against a hugely influential figure and a conviction happening with the fastest, processing of evidence and the trial moving super fast.
Well, Mr. Revanna, as a former MP, there are judgments of the Supreme Court directing that cases involving politicians should be heard and decided fast. In this case, there has been a clean investigation. The investigation has unearthed a lot of evidence which Mr. Revanna himself created, because all those videos were obviously taken by him or somebody else at his behest, and they were available to the investigators. So you had the testimony of the victim herself. which is corroborated both by electronic evidence as well as by physical evidence. As a consequence, it is not surprising that when the evidence is totaled up, he has been convicted. There are 4 other cases also, I believe, and each of them there may be separate sentences. So that way, that would really put him away for a long time on the basis of his convictions.
You know, we're often very, very critical of the judiciary, but in this particular case, it's because of the fact that we have these kind of provisions to ensure that the likes of MPs and MLAs face justice when they're involved in these kind of cases, that you've seen how fast and expedited this trial was. Brinda Adige, for someone like Prajwal Revanna, hugely influential, member of parliament, belongs to the first family of JDS. The fact that he's been convicted in 1 of 4 rape cases is sending out a very clear message that no one will be spared. You're involved in these kind of grave crimes, you will pay the price.
Absolutely. It's a breath of fresh air. And like you mentioned, once in a while you get a case like this that restores our faith in the judiciary, that restores our faith in the system, that there are some people who will uphold constitutional rights, but more than that, follow through with the law. Because we know that these cases are there, these kinds of cases are there across India. And like you mentioned, he is a very, very powerful person. And something like this has been happening for many, many years. There have been whispers. If you have your ear to the ground, you know that there have been whispers from many people. You also mentioned that he broke down in court. Him and his family must know that they broke down and shattered hundreds of families, hundreds of women, who cannot even go back to their village, because these people also have a lot of supporters. And these supporters are on the ground and they don't spare women. And all the time they will keep saying that, you know, this woman provoked, that woman's character was like this, and that is why he is not at fault. And I'm hoping and praying that he doesn't get any kind of, you know, parole or like Ram Rahim, who keeps coming out every 10, 20 days. He must not get something like that. He must serve his sentence. And what must go across very strongly is you can come and report. And there are people out there, the police, the prosecution, and the judges, who will ensure that these people are brought to book, that they will be punished and serve that punishment. Because serving the punishment is another challenge. We also know that many people get away. And when they get away, they come back out, and the victim, who might also be the witness, then has no longer anything to hold on to. Their lives are also shattered further. So the system has to look after the victim and the survivors who are out here now, plus ensure that this man serves his sentence fully. And I hope he serves it one after another, so that he remains in jail for a very long time.
You know, right now we're setting a great example in the fact that we've seen Prajwal being convicted in a matter of 14 months. And you're right in pointing out that on one hand, you have someone who's so influential politically and otherwise, and up against him are all of these victims who kept quiet for years together, worried about the consequences if they spoke out. They finally got the courage to speak out. And this case itself, the fact that he's been convicted in the rape of his house help tells you what kind of bravery and courage it must have taken for her family to finally speak out about the torture and abuse that she's faced at the hands of Prajwal Revanna for the last many years. But Mr. Hegde, looking at the details that have emerged of this particular case and the others, what really to you, sir, would be the maximum punishment that Prajwal Revanna could actually face?
Well, in rape cases, it could be anything upwards of 10 years. And given the circumstances, it could even be a life imprisonment. But as I told you earlier, each of those 4 cases which are being prosecuted, they are separate acts. They are not acts within the same series of transactions, so as to qualify for concurrent sentences. Sentences, for, if there are convictions in each of these matters, would necessarily have to be consecutive. So even if it is 10 years in each case, it might end up with a 40-year sentence to be undergone.
Okay. And also, just to, also take forward the question that Brinda Adige asked, which is a concern that most citizens have. They say that, look, someone this powerful may have been convicted, but they always have the courts available to them, which is why they get paroles, they get furloughs, they get breaks that normal convicts don't. What's your response to that, Mr. Hegde? Is there any guarantee that when you look at the serious charges against Prajwal Revanna, that will essentially ensure that he doesn't get these kind of breaks?
Well, Ram Rahim was mentioned. The authority that grants parole is the government of the day. In Ram Rahim's case, it is quite obvious that there are a lot of votes involved. Here also, on similar conditions, if there is a different government where votes are required, I can't give a guarantee that there will never be parole. And parole often is used when people grow old, people need medical help, or there is something in the family, death or a wedding. Those times parole is for a very limited period is granted. But consecutive paroles like the one that we are seeing from the Haryana government, that is an oddity. And maybe at some point of time, some court will have to look at it.
Well, we definitely hope that's the case, that it is and remains an oddity right now. The likes of Prajwal Revanna, of course, are facing justice. The first step, at least, towards justice is being realized here in this particular case. Brinda Adige, the allegation here is not just against Prajwal Revanna. His father, HD Revanna, also named in a kidnapping case related to Prajwal Revanna, related to shielding him. Are you hopeful seeing this conviction that in all the other cases related to Prajwal Revanna, and for that matter as family members, we will finally see action?
That is going to be doubtful, but let us hope that we have strong progressive judges who will ensure that the case that has been brought before them is fast-tracked and the father is also punished. And I think there was another person also who was convicted, who was brought to book. A case was registered, but nothing much happened. Again, we need to understand that the victim survivors are still out there. They keep getting called to the court, and that is why these cases get delayed. And what is the message that must go very strongly across is women must come up and speak, which means communities and families must support them. They must not cast aspersions on women and say, why did you come so late? Why did you not inform that time? Because here the power equation is absolutely skewed. There's no way a woman can come immediately and speak up. She is also waiting to see what is the kind of support that she will get. And often we as families and communities and mechanisms that are out there to protect and safeguard do not extend that kind of support to them. And that is why it becomes such a challenge that we are expecting the court to do something. When many times, there was also somewhere that one of the women who was being questioned, or when her statement was being made at CID, there was some kind of an intimidation. So, we do have these kind of officers here and there, and that might break a case, and it may not be a watertight case that comes up there. So it is important that the coordination and the collaboration, everybody is equally accountable to ensure that they bring the culprit to book. Not only that, they extend that support to the victim survivors and their families. It's so difficult, getting even the victim compensation. It's extremely difficult. There are no funds with the government. So when you look at all of these things, we are happy at one end that, somebody has looked at all of this and is going to now, have this punishment pronounced for them. But the long-drawn case is still for the victim survivor who has to bear the consequences for the rest of their lives.
But the reality is, at least in this case, where the woman finally got the courage to speak out, file this case against Prajwal Revanna, there has been justice. He's been convicted. The allegation is that from 2021, Prajwal Revanna has allegedly sexually assaulted many, many women, and many of them haven't had the courage to come out and speak about what's happened. Hopefully, with this conviction, many of them will now speak out about what they've undergone, what they've endured. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, Brinda Adige, thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on India Today. Just to re-jog all of our viewers' memories as well as to exactly what happened. Remember that this case had come to the fore last year in 2024. And Prajwal Revanna, a powerful political heir, first family of the JDS, son of HD Revanna, grandson of Devagowda. So now faces the weight of justice. He's been convicted in one of many extremely disturbing rape cases. There have been graphic videos, explicit photos allegedly clicked by him, recording him indulging in these kind of assault and rapes, based on which multiple FIRs were filed against him. There's a mountain of evidence against Prajwal Revanna, but the challenge always was to ensure that this trial is untouched by the political influence that he enjoys. Remember, right after these videos had come to the fore and it was leaked essentially in his stronghold of Hassan in Karnataka, he fled to Germany. And so the challenge was for over 1 month just to bring him back and make him face the law. Let's get you a recap of exactly what had happened.
A sexual predator now finally being punished for his perverted crimes. Prajwal Revanna has finally been convicted. But mind you, this is just in one rape case. There are several others pending even now. But let's take you back to April 2024, when Karnataka was rocked by a volley of charges of rape, sexual abuse and more. Photos and videos began circulating of Prajwal, explicit ones showing Prajwal sexually assaulting multiple women in Karnataka's Hassan. These clips were allegedly filmed by Revanna himself and circulated widely via USB drives. As soon as the videos emerged, Prajwal fled, headed to Germany amid a growing chorus for his arrest. Multiple FIRs were filed, accusing him of rape, threats, confinement, recording the assaults and using these recordings to intimidate and blackmail them. Prajwal's family, the first family of JDS, came under massive pressure, claiming they did not know his whereabouts. Damage control attempts were made. Prajwal's uncle, HD Kumaraswamy, made it clear family would not protect him. His grandfather too called out Prajwal.
Request the central government to conduct a fair inquiry. Disrespected any woman in this state, we are for the inquiry, not only inquiry. If that inquiry is proof is there, anything goes wrong against the women, we are the first person to demand the proper decision has to be taken by the government.
And then emerged Prajwal with a detailed video statement, where, believe it or not, he played the victim card, claiming he was depressed. Finally, on May 31st, Prajwal Revanna returned to Bengaluru and was immediately arrested.
The most wanted man in the country at the moment, Prajwal Revanna's convoy has arrived at the CID office in Bengaluru. That's the convoy, one convoy after the other that has just started to come inside the CID office. As you can see, the two women police officers heading the CID team, Suman and Seema Ladkar. Well, that's Prajwal, that's Prajwal Revanna over there. He was escorted by the top cops of the Karnataka.
But the taint spread. Prajwal's father, HD Revanna, was arrested over kidnapping allegations in an attempt to shield his son. He also tried repeatedly to call the serious allegations of rape as politically motivated. This monster will finally pay the price for the countless women he targeted, thinking he would get away with it simply because of his political power. Bureau Report, India Today.
And just to break down for you why exactly this is a very, very prominent conviction that's taken place, Prajwal Revanna is extremely influential and belongs to a very influential family in Karnataka. He is the grandson of HD Devagowda, JDS chief, former Prime Minister of the country. Essentially, H.D. Devegowda's eldest son is H.D. Revanna, who is also part of the JDS. Mind you, there's a case against him. He's currently out on bail. The allegation against H.D. Revanna is that of kidnapping. He had allegedly kidnapped family members of a woman who was accusing Prajwal Revanna of rape, so attempting to hush up the case essentially. He has two sons, Suraj and Prajwal Revanna. Prajwal Revanna was already in the political scene, was the JDS candidate from Hassan's seat when this entire scandal erupted, and so he was immediately dropped, suspended from the JDS. Now he's been convicted for rape. His uncle is H.D. Kumaraswamy, who's right now the most active in JDS. He is Devegowda's younger son, former Karnataka Chief Minister, of course. So in the JDS, he's now the one calling the shots. His son, Nikhil Gowda, is also very much present in the political scenario, active in politics, was previously an actor. So this is a family tree of the JDS, almost all of them in politics. Prajwal Revanna is the stain there because he's been convicted for rape. We are going to continue tracking all the latest updates that come in on the story. Prajwal Revanna, the predator, the sexual predator in Karnataka, finally being convicted.